So you were on the founding teams for some pretty major experiential moments, including Refinery 29, 29 Rooms. Tell us about that.
Yeah.
What did you like about working on those projects?
I loved working at Refinery 29. It was the era where Refinery it was the era of media, right? So BuzzFeed, Vice, Huffington Post, like when these businesses were just at their best, thriving. And I had gone from working in predominantly male-heavy environments, and here I was working in this all-female, heavily queer environment as well, and just felt a sense of physical freedom in my body and just not caring what I wore to work and being able to just show up and be myself.
Your full self.
My full self and not have to worry about, this is pre-Me Too, right? So film, media was different. It was different. As a woman, I thought about what I wore to work. I was that conscious about the environment was conducive to not feeling safe.
Right.
And so to go to a refinery and work in that type of environment, I think allowed for the best of the creative brilliance of everyone who was a part of that.
To shine.
Yeah. And so the first couple of years of 29 Rooms was really, I think, a product and exemplary of a group of people who were able to show up as themselves at work.
Right.
And it's been the greatest inspiration for starting my own business of just like, what does it mean to actually create a safe environment where people can just like have an idea and not worry if it's the best idea, just to express that they have one.
Right.
So 29 Rooms is an exemplary, is an example of that, And I loved it. I loved it.
So winning all these accolades in marketing and as a creative and so forth pretty much rings a bell that you might know a thing or two about strategy and marketing and so forth. Are there any gems that you've come across that speaks to your current business? And tell us about your current business.
Yeah. Well, in terms of gems, I think with marketing and advertising and design, which is predominantly what I'm in now, is the design world.
So necessary.
Is two things. One, I say this all the time, but if you want to make the wrong decisions, wrong creative decisions, ask everyone.
Okay.
If you want to make the right creative decision, ask yourself. And I think that's one of the most important things about succeeding in this industry is that you have to really know how to listen to your gut and your creative instincts. You're a genius when it comes to brand building, right? You can take stock of what other people think and hear them out. And I think it is beautiful to be able to ask other people their opinion and receive it.
Yeah.
But you then have to go home and close your eyes and actually go within and be like, well, what do I really think?
Right.
What do I think is best for the brand? Am I going to trust my instincts here and feel confident that maybe I also might not be right?
Right.
I might put forth an idea that might not be the right idea, but I'll only know that if I try.
Right.
And so I think what my career and these awards and all these things have just taught me, that instinct, that gut feeling is an important one to pay attention to and not lose sight of.
Right.
And it was the catalyst for starting my business, which is we're an all-female identifying design firm. Half strategy, marketing, half design.
Okay.
And we're built off of using qualitative and quantitative data as the means of outside opinion, but also going within and really trusting our own instincts as a group of women and saying, what do we feel? What do we think? And not have to be concerned about being in a pressurized environment or in a space that doesn't feel safe to us.
That sounds like a winning formula.
Yeah, it works.
Instincts. That's what makes you a creative.
Yeah.
And many people that aren't creative, and they're happy to admit that, don't understand how instinctual it is, and it's a gift.
Yeah.
But I love that you also mix the qualitative data because you do have to communicate that to clients and others.
100 people, 100%. And the other reality,
you know what you know,
yes.
But here's the data supporting
100%.
in order to have the buy-in to move forward with whatever you're doing.
Oh yeah, I will geek out on color theory any day, but the reality is that there's so much out there that you can learn from. And rather than, I think a lot of creatives are I don't deal with data, numbers. I'm well, it's not, if you can shift your mindset about that and look at it as a lens.
Right.
As just one of the elements of building a brand. And also recognize that there are other experts out there who can give you great insight to inform your creative ideas. Why is that a bad thing? Right.
Well, I think any marketer, anyone in the creative space, and if you're a creative and, marketing is so broad these days, you have to be data fluent, and if you're not, get on board, because that's where everything is, and that's what's happening at the top and where the decisions are being made. So it's an important mix. That intrigued me. I had to ask you.
Yeah, no, it's a great question.
So, you've been transparent about experiencing burnout
very
in
much
the workplace, and that has led to your advocacy of others experiencing this. Take us back to that moment and walk us through what you were feeling. I was so excited to just embark upon this piece of the conversation with you. Burnout is so real, and I'm sure this is going to resonate with a lot of folks, but so intrigued about your perspective on this.
Yeah. I did not know I was burnt out for so long. And I always say that I think, especially in American society, we it's like everyone's being gaslit about their burnout, right? Oh, pull yourself by the bootstraps. Like, that's this American way, the American dream, working hard. Millennials don't want to work. Gen Z don't want to work. And so all of a sudden, these very real feelings that so many people feel and experience, they're like, well, is this okay for me to feel this way? Am I just young? Am I just a millennial? Am I just spoiled? Whatever else the construct tells us about work. And so I spent many years of my career putting in crazy hours, working 70-hour weeks, sleeping with my phone next to my pillow, that kind of energy, no meditation, sacrificing workouts. And I ended up developing pancreatitis, which my doctor was like, you're either a closeted alcoholic or you're 90 years old. They could not figure out why at that time, I was 26, 27. Why was I having all these health issues? I did endoscopies. I mean, I was traveling around the country trying to figure out what was wrong with me. And eventually one doctor was like, I think you need to take a look at how you live and your environment and what kind of stress you're under. And he's like, I hate to sound like I'm giving up on your health, but there's just nothing actually wrong with you. And I was so mad.
Right.
I was like, the American medical system, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, especially as a Black person, of course, that's a natural, they're not taking my pain into consideration. They're not doing the tests they're supposed to do. And I fought against what he was saying. And he was a Black man. You
felt that was a safe space.
Yes. And so, but even then, the last thing that came to my mind was, is this my job causing this? This is my work causing this? And I realized it was. I started to read about burnout and understanding how much it's psychological, it's physiological, it's emotional, symptoms that people don't even realize are a product of burnout, paranoia, started thinking everyone was trying to get me to quit my job, things that is a symptom of this disorder. It's a syndrome, right? It actually was classified as a syndrome in 1970. It is considered one, but we gaslight people into thinking it's not, but it actually is in any sort of, psychiatry handbook. And I finally quit my job because I reached a place where I didn't align with how the founders of the business were running the business.
Operating the business.
I got to a place where I was like, you know what? Why are we getting to work at 8:00 in the morning? This is not an investment bank. And so I used these other excuses to leave, but really deep down, I was burnt out.
Right.
And it sent me on a quest of understanding burnout, understanding why we don't really recover from burnout, why Black women are the most susceptible to burnout. What are all the systemic reasons that Black people find themselves burnt out more than anyone else in this country? What are the jobs that people burn out more, especially, you have healthcare and teachers. And we saw this over the pandemic. We finally saw people recognizing how hard a teacher works, how burnt out they are, how much weight someone in healthcare works. But creatives also burn themselves out. Creatives struggle with self-worth, and they feel so deeply connected to their self-worth and their work almost more than any other industry. My dad's in finance. He's not thinks about him as a person connected to his day job in the same way that a creative puts out work, and if it's not received, am I good?
Right.
He doesn't go through that. Neither does my brother, who's not a creative either. But creatives go through that. And so we burn ourselves out. And I think that we're in an epidemic. I really do. And I'm really here now in my career to empower other people. This is impacting everyone. And I do believe the first step is we have to stop trivializing this.
Right.
And recognize it can lead to suicide for some people. Right. It's a very real thing.
Right.
And it's time to stop making it seem like it's not.
I've definitely seen it through the years.
Yeah.
And it's a trauma response
Yep.
for so many people, a fear of the ground being pulled from them, you know, being in the office. I don't want to say unnecessarily, because sometimes it requires it, working around the clock, going to brunch with a friend who on a Saturday cannot put their cell phone down because they have to respond to an email. I'm like, what if you're in the shower right now?
When I was like 25, I once interviewed to be the assistant for a celebrity that I won't name because I did not take the job. And they told me I had to shower with the phone in a Ziploc bag in case they called. And I said, okay, I'm not taking that job.
Right. Because, you know, they might have been serious.
I think they were.
You know, it's definitely a metaphor for the reality of it.